Coming up on Newswire LA, entertainment reporter Joy Paris takes us to the Greater Los Angeles Agency on Deafness benefit.
This is Joy Paris with RichGirlNetwork.tv, and I'm here at the Greater Los Angeles Agency for Deafness fundraiser at the House of Blues. A fantastic evening, wonderful sponsors, Ken Pavis, Eva Longoria, Marley Martlin, all to benefit the agency for deafness. Sponsors have been fantastic. We have a great show coming up. We have a gift bag full of wonderful things, and I am just really, really honored to be here, and I'm excited to have been part of this fantastic event. This is Joy Paris with RichGirlNetwork.tv.
You are the apple of my eye. Forever you stay in my arms.
Just one quick one.
One question?
Yes. Why is it so important to tell everybody why they should support this cause tonight?
You know, I always think it's important to bring awareness to minority populations, whether you're female, whether you're black, whether you're Latino, or whether you're deaf. And so this is just another organization that needs a bigger platform. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much. That was brilliant. That's all we needed to hear from you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Stay tuned for more news on this Westlake Signal station. And now, a Newswire LA editorial. Recently, KFI AM 640's afternoon duo of John Cobelt and Ken Champeau made comments regarding the death of singer Whitney Houston. Those comments were considered tasteless, crass, and offensive by many who heard them, and many of those people were from the African American community. The outcry was so loud and so strong that program director Robin Bertolucci was forced to take some kind of action. First off, the duo were placed on an 8-broadcast-day suspension. During that time, station officials met with members of the community to find ways to diversify the voices heard on that station. Since that time, 2 new shows helmed by minority hosts have been added to the station's broadcast schedule, and sensitivity training has been ordered for all employees, especially those with on-air positions. The outcry eventually reached the chambers of the Los Angeles City Council. The council quickly moved and passed a symbolic resolution. That resolution states, and I quote, "This resolution urges the management of radio and television stations in Los Angeles to do everything in their power to ensure that their on-air hosts do not use and promote racist and sexist slurs over the public airwaves in the city of Los Angeles," unquote. We mentioned earlier that this resolution is largely symbolic, which means that the resolution carries no legal weight and cannot be enforced in any statutory manner. On-air hosts from KFI and other media outlets believe resolutions like this could usher in a climate where speech that is seen as offensive could be suppressed. And that's whether it's in the interest of the public or not. Every day we're bombarded with speech that we consider tasteless or even downright detestable. However, we have to apply the yelling fire in a crowded theater criteria to this and anything that relates to free speech. This concept was first spoken by Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes in 1919, and this was during the case of Schenck versus the United States. Using the criteria, we know that there is no absolute right to free speech, because there are always circumstances in which unregulated expression can create problematic or dangerous situations. The need for safeguarding the public against certain forms of speech creates exceptions that are not protected by the First Amendment. The court furthermore stated that language that creates a clear and present danger is not protected under the First Amendment. With that thought in mind, did the speech John and Ken used to describe the late Whitney Houston place anyone, anywhere, in a situation of clear and present danger? Absolutely not. Was the speech they used insensitive, crass, and tasteless? Absolutely. Their comments were offensive to those closest to Miss Houston. We're talking about her family, her friends, and her fans. To attempt to put the proverbial muzzle on media for this kind of speech, however, is short-sighted at best. KFI and other media organizations are owned by the companies that handle their daily operations. In this case, we're talking about the Clear Channel Communications Corporation. The lifeblood of all of these companies is advertising revenue. In the early days following the comments John and Ken made, those opposed struck squarely at the advertising base that buys KFI and the John and Ken show in particular. By KFI's own accounts, they lost over 20 advertisers during this period. Additionally, the duo of John and Ken are no longer featured on KTLA TV Channel 5, which had given them their own dedicated segment known as Driving at Home with John and Ken. As mentioned earlier, the duo were placed on an 8-day suspension and the station was put under pressure to diversify its broadcast lineup. On the weekend of April 7th and 8th, KFI unveiled 2 new shows in its broadcast lineup. The first show is hosted by Morris Kelly, better known as Mo Kelly. He is an African-American journalist and commentator for the BBC. The second show is hosted by longtime Los Angeles newsman David Cruz, a Latino. I am sure most activists are gratified that the City Council passed this particular motion. But we have to realize that that kind of thinking is short-sighted at best. Say we begin monitoring the content of media and we start eliminating speech that we consider offensive. Well, we have to remember that most speech, especially that in talk radio, will offend someone, somewhere, sometime. Talk radio insults political ideology, religious ideology, racial standing, and so on. Before you know it, the airways will be nothing more than snow and background noise because no one will be out there because everyone's been removed due to having some kind of offensive content. Newswire LA believes the best way to effect change in a capitalist environment is to speak with your pocketbook, as many did with KFI AM 640 in particular. Also remember that if you're unhappy with the content you hear on radio, or if you're unhappy with what you see on television, you have the right to simply change the channel or the station, or even simply turn it off. In closing, nothing gets a media company's attention faster than the loss of ratings and advertising dollars. Keep that in mind the next time you see something you deem offensive on television or you hear it on radio. That's our position. What's yours? You can post written comments or a rebuttal video on our Newswire LA Facebook page. The best of those could be used in a future broadcast or rebuttal segment. You can also send us comments via our email system. Use this address, newswirela@gmail.com. Comments and videos must adhere to general broadcast standards for content and language. Newswire LA reserves the right to remove content that does not adhere to these standards. Thank you for joining us, and this concludes our broadcast day.